Have you ever found yourself postponing something important, even though you knew it would only bring more stress later? Maybe it was that report you needed to deliver, starting the gym you always push to Monday, or even making that call to resolve a pending issue. Sound familiar? If so, you're not alone. Procrastination affects millions of people every day, and interestingly, it's not just about discipline or laziness. The root of the problem lies in your brain. The good news is that science offers practical answers to this. Neuroscience studies show that procrastination is actually an internal battle between two parts of the brain, the limbic system, which seeks immediate rewards and avoids discomfort, and the prefrontal cortex, responsible for planning and impulse control. When a task seems too hard or emotionally uncomfortable, guess which part wins? The limbic system, and there we are, delaying yet again. But don't worry, there's a way out. In this video, we'll explore 5 simple and effective tricks, all based on neuroscience, that can help you overcome procrastination and take action right now. These methods are practical, easy to apply, and can make an immediate difference in your productivity. Why is this so important? Because your routine can be transformed when you learn to use your brain to your advantage. So, stay with me until the end of this video to discover how these strategies can change the way you approach tasks, big or small, and help you achieve your goals more easily. Shall we begin? Did you know that procrastination isn't just a matter of lacking willpower? Behind the habit of postponing tasks lies a constant struggle in your brain. On one side is the limbic system, a more primitive part governing our emotions and seeking instant rewards. On the other is the prefrontal cortex, responsible for advanced functions like planning, organization, and self-control. When a task feels difficult, boring, or uncomfortable, the limbic system steps in, trying to protect you from any negative feelings. That's why we often choose a more pleasant alternative, like watching videos or scrolling through social media, even though we know it won't solve the problem. This internal battle is reinforced by a fascinating characteristic of the brain: it loves to save energy. Decisions require mental effort, and the harder or less clear a task seems, the more the brain tries to avoid it. For example, if you need to write a lengthy report, your brain interprets it as an energy-draining activity and instinctively tries to escape. Instead, it offers an immediate solution: why not check your phone for 5 minutes? This small detour becomes a trap, and before you know it, hours have slipped away. Procrastination, however, isn't just an annoyance in your routine, it can have real-life consequences. Studies show that constantly delaying important tasks can increase stress levels, harm professional performance, and even impact mental health, leading to feelings of guilt and frustration. The more you procrastinate, the harder it feels to regain control, creating a repeating cycle. But it's important to understand that this isn't a character flaw or personal weakness. Procrastination is a natural biological response of the brain. Recognizing this is already an important step toward combating it. Moreover, science shows us that it's possible to train the brain to overcome these tendencies and build more productive habits. Now, think about the last time you postponed something important. What went through your mind? Perhaps it was something like, "I'll do this later," or "I'm not in the mood right now." That's the limbic system trying to protect you from immediate discomfort. The good news is that with a few simple strategies, you can change this narrative and take control. This is where the power of neuroscience comes in. When we understand how the brain works, we can use this knowledge to our advantage. Instead of fighting procrastination, we can work with the brain, creating conditions that facilitate action and eliminate barriers. In the next chapters, we'll explore 5 practical strategies that will help you do just that. From breaking large tasks into smaller steps to creating reward systems, each trick is based on how the brain actually operates. So, if you've ever felt stuck in an endless cycle of delays, know that there's a way out. Let's dive into practical, science-backed solutions to transform your routine and put an end to procrastination. Imagine you have a mountain to climb. When you look at the summit, it seems impossible to reach. But if you focus only on the next step, one at a time, the journey becomes much more manageable. This is exactly how our brain works when facing large or complex tasks. When we encounter something that seems enormous, our limbic system triggers an alert: this is too hard. Let's avoid it. Breaking a task into micro steps, on the other hand, shifts this perception and tricks the brain into thinking, this is easy, I can do it now. This trick works because it reduces the brain's initial resistance. Studies show that one of the biggest barriers to productivity is the fear of the unknown or difficulty. When you break a task into smaller, tangible pieces, each part seems simpler and less intimidating. The secret is not to try solving everything at once but to take small steps that lead to big results. For example, imagine you need to write a 10-page report. Thinking about the entire report can feel overwhelming, but if you break it into steps, like writing the title, choosing the topic of the first paragraph, and researching a relevant source, the task suddenly becomes more manageable. Each completed step also gives the brain a small dose of dopamine, the neurotransmitter associated with the feeling of reward. This helps keep you motivated to continue. This technique is especially powerful for those who feel constantly overwhelmed. A great example is the use of checklists that many high-performing professionals rely on. Listing small actions and marking them as done provides a sense of progress, even if the ultimate goal is still far off. This approach not only reduces stress but also builds confidence in your ability to complete the task. Additionally, breaking tasks into micro-steps allows you to identify and eliminate specific barriers. Often, we procrastinate because we don't know where to start. When a task is divided into clear steps, it's easier to identify the starting point and avoid mental blocks. For example, instead of thinking, "I need to clean the house," you could start with, "I'll tidy up the couch." Once you start, the momentum to keep going naturally builds. And don't think this technique only applies to large tasks. Even everyday activities can benefit from being broken into micro-steps. Want to start an exercise routine? Instead of committing to an hour at the gym, begin with a 5-minute walk. Want to organize your finances? Instead of reviewing all your accounts at once, start with a specific category, like food expenses. There's also a significant psychological aspect to this technique: it reduces self-sabotage. When faced with a massive task, it's easy to think, "I can't do this," or "this will take too long." But by focusing on small steps, the brain perceives each progress as a victory, creating a cycle of positive motivation. A study conducted by Stanford University supports this idea. Researchers found that people who used micro-step strategies to tackle complex tasks reported significantly lower stress levels and greater satisfaction with the work they completed. This happens because each small advancement reinforces a sense of competence and control, two crucial factors for mental well-being. Another advantage of this approach is its adaptability to different lifestyles and personalities. If you work better with deadlines, you can set micro-steps tied to specific times. For example, "I'll finish the introduction by 10 a.m. If you prefer more, you end up continuing for much longer because your brain is already engaged. Ultimately, breaking tasks into micro-steps helps you build a habit of consistent action. When you condition your brain to start with small tasks, it becomes more receptive to taking the next step. Over time, this translates to greater productivity and less procrastination. So why not try it right now? Take a task you've been putting off and divide it into at least 5 simple, easy-to-execute steps. Write them down on paper or your phone and start with the smallest one. You'll notice how liberating it feels to take that first step and how naturally the next steps follow. If taking that first step already feels easier with micro-steps, imagine combining it with an even smaller commitment, dedicating just 5 minutes to a task. The 5-minute technique is one of the simplest and most effective strategies to beat procrastination. It acts as a small trigger that tricks your brain into starting something without the weight of thinking about the entire task. The science behind this technique is fascinating. When you begin an activity, even for a short time, your brain enters a state called action flow. This state is marked by the release of dopamine, which enhances feelings of pleasure and motivation. This means that often, by starting a task for just 5 minutes, you end up continuing for much longer because your brain is already engaged. Think about how many times you've postponed something because it seemed difficult or time-consuming, only to realize that once you started, the process was quicker than you imagined. This happens because the biggest barrier to productivity is the initial inertia. The 5-minute technique helps overcome this barrier, making starting so simple that it's almost impossible to resist. A classic example is students who need to review material for an exam. Instead of telling themselves, "I need to study for hours," they can start with, "I'll review this topic for just 5 minutes." The trick is not to pressure yourself to continue, you only need to start. In many cases, those 5 minutes turn into 20, 30, or even more because the brain has already moved out of resistance mode. This strategy is also powerful because it reduces fear or anxiety associated with complex tasks. For example, if you need to organize your finances, starting with 5 minutes reviewing just one category, like fixed expenses, makes the task less intimidating. Once you realize you can handle one part, moving on to the next becomes easier. To make this technique even more effective, you can use a timer or productivity app. Set an alarm for 5 minutes and focus entirely on the task during that time. It's important to avoid distractions and maintain full concentration. At the end of the 5 minutes, you can decide whether to continue or stop. The secret is giving your brain the freedom to choose, but most of the time, the momentum to continue will already be there. Another interesting application of this technique is in habit formation. Imagine you want to start exercising but feel like you don't have the time or energy. Instead of committing to a full routine, commit to just 5 minutes of stretching or walking. Often, those 5 minutes become the starting point for a longer and more consistent session. This technique can also help overcome creative blocks. Writers, for example, often face the dreaded blank page, where starting a text feels impossible. With the 5-minute technique, the goal could simply be to write anything for 5 minutes without worrying about quality. This small push is often enough to unlock creativity. An interesting aspect is that this strategy not only helps you start but also trains your brain to associate tasks with positive experiences. Each time you overcome the initial block, you create a success memory linked to that activity, reducing resistance in future attempts. And don't worry if, at first, those 5 minutes feel insufficient. The main goal isn't to do everything at once but to build consistency. It's like planting a seed that, over time, grows into discipline and productivity. You can start with 5 minutes today and gradually increase the time as you feel more comfortable. If you think even 5 minutes might be hard to fit in, here's a practical tip: link this technique to something that's already part of your routine. For example, right after breakfast, dedicate 5 minutes to reviewing your schedule. Or, before bed, spend 5 minutes tidying up your space. Integrating this technique into existing habits makes it easier to maintain over time. So, why not start right now? Pick a task you've been putting off and commit to just 5 minutes. It could be organizing a drawer, replying to an email, or writing the first lines of a project. Set a timer, take a deep breath, and dive in. You might be surprised at how much momentum 5 minutes can create. Now that you've taken the first step, whether by breaking tasks into smaller steps or dedicating 5 minutes to start, it's time to keep your motivation high. One of the most effective ways to do this is by using your brain's reward system. Rewards are a key element in reinforcing positive habits, and science explains exactly why. When you complete a task, even a small one, your brain releases dopamine, the neurotransmitter responsible for feelings of pleasure and motivation. It's like an internal "congratulations" message from your reward system, saying, "You did it." This mechanism is essential not only for celebrating achievements but also for creating a positive cycle that encourages you to keep making progress. The best part? You can use this strategically to your advantage. Think about the last time you accomplished something important and allowed yourself to celebrate, even in a small way. Maybe it was finishing a tough book or tidying up a cluttered space. The sense of satisfaction you felt wasn't a coincidence, it was your brain's reward system at work. The difference is, when you apply this strategy consciously, you can amplify the results and make progress even more enjoyable. Start by setting small rewards tied directly to the steps of your tasks. For instance, if you've completed the introduction of a report, treat yourself to a coffee break or an episode of your favorite show. These rewards don't have to be extravagant, what matters is that they are meaningful to you and bring a sense of relief or pleasure. Additionally, creating a system of goals and rewards can make seemingly tedious tasks more engaging. Imagine you have a big project divided into 5 parts. For each part you complete, you can allocate a different type of reward. This approach not only helps maintain focus but also turns the journey into something more enjoyable and less exhausting. A practical example of this can be seen in the corporate world, where many successful professionals use gamification to stay motivated. They create task lists and attach rewards to each completed item. It's like turning your routine into a game, where even small victories are celebrated. You can do the same, check off each completed item and reward yourself at the end. Studies show that immediate rewards are particularly effective for tasks that require continuous mental effort. This is because our brains respond better to immediate pleasure than to long-term promises. That's why it's crucial to celebrate progress in real time, rather than waiting until the entire task is finished. Another benefit of rewards is that they help reduce the perception of difficulty. Imagine needing to clean the entire house. Just thinking about the task as a whole can kill your motivation. But if you break it into stages, like cleaning one room at a time, and attach a reward to each completed stage, the process becomes less overwhelming and more satisfying. Something as simple as taking a water break or listening to a favorite song can make a significant difference. However, it's important to balance rewards to prevent them from becoming distractions. For example, if your reward is watching an episode of a series, make sure you don't fall into the trap of binge-watching several. The goal is to reinforce progress, not create new opportunities to procrastinate. Beyond material rewards or actions, you can explore emotional rewards. Sometimes, simply acknowledging your effort and telling yourself, "I did it," is enough to boost your motivation. Another idea is to share your accomplishments with someone close, like a friend or colleague. Talking about what you've achieved further reinforces the sense of progress. What about long-term goals? In this case, rewards need to be adjusted to sustain motivation over time. For example, if your goal is to write a book, reward yourself after completing each chapter or major milestone. This helps maintain enthusiasm and combats fatigue that can arise with larger projects. Finally, remember that the ultimate reward is the sense of progress and accomplishment. Every completed task, no matter how small, is a step toward your goals. Celebrating these victories isn't just a luxury, it's a necessity for keeping your motivation alive and ensuring you continue moving forward. Now, how about putting this strategy into practice? Choose a task you're currently working on and set a clear reward for completing it. It could be something simple, like a moment of rest, or something more elaborate, like treating yourself to a small gift. The key is that the reward should be meaningful to you and serve as a reminder that every step forward is worth celebrating. Sometimes, the problem isn't the task itself or a lack of motivation, but the environment where you're trying to work. The place where you work has a direct impact on your focus and productivity. The good news is that small changes to your surroundings can make a huge difference in how your brain perceives and reacts to tasks. Our brains are incredibly sensitive to associations. For example, when you think of a bed, you likely associate it with rest and sleep. The same applies to other environments. A cluttered desk might evoke chaos and disorganization, while a well-lit and organized space can inspire focus and clarity. This is the foundation of the theory of associated spaces, which demonstrates how different environments influence behaviors and mental states. If you find yourself procrastinating constantly, it might be because your workspace or study area isn't conducive to concentration. Imagine trying to tackle an important project in a place full of visual distractions and constant noise. Your brain has to expend extra energy to ignore these stimuli, reducing its ability to focus on the main task. The solution: create an environment that aligns with your goals. One of the simplest changes you can make is reorganizing your workspace. Start by removing unnecessary items and creating a clean, functional area. Research shows that physical clutter can lead to a sense of mental clutter, increasing stress and making focus harder. Adding elements you enjoy, such as a plant, a pleasant lamp, or even an inspiring photo, can make the space more welcoming and motivating. Consider the lighting as well. The brain responds better to natural light because it stimulates serotonin production, a neurotransmitter that enhances mood and concentration. If possible, position your desk near a window. If natural light isn't available, invest in artificial lighting that mimics daylight spectrum. This simple change can boost your energy and productivity. Another valuable tip is to alternate the locations where you perform different tasks. For example, if you always study or work at the same desk, your brain may associate that space with monotony, decreasing motivation. Try varying your environment: a cafe, a library, or even a park. These new settings can stimulate creativity and give fresh energy to your tasks. Many creative professionals report that regularly changing their environment helps them overcome blocks and gain new perspectives. Don't forget the impact of sound in your surroundings. If you work in a noisy space, noise-canceling headphones can be a game changer. Alternatively, ambient sounds or instrumental music can promote focus. Studies indicate that classical music or nature sounds, such as rain or ocean waves, can improve concentration and reduce stress. If changing locations isn't an option, small adjustments to your current environment can still make a difference. For instance, develop a pre-work organization routine to signal your brain that it's time to focus. Additionally, designate a specific area for work or study, avoiding its use for other activities like eating or relaxing. This separation helps your brain adopt the appropriate mental state for each activity. Each person has unique preferences for their ideal environment. Some focus better in complete silence, while others thrive with a bit of background activity. Finding what works best for you is part of the process. Experiment with different setups and pay attention to how each affects your productivity. If committing to changes feels daunting, start with a small experiment. Choose a day to work in a different location or tweak one aspect of your current space. It could be as simple as switching your chair, repositioning your desk, or adding a pleasant scent like lavender, known for its relaxing properties. Ultimately, changing your environment is more than just aesthetics, it's about creating conditions that allow your brain to function at its best. When you eliminate distractions and cultivate a space that promotes focus, procrastination becomes less appealing, and tasks begin to flow naturally. So, how about looking around and identifying a change you can make right now? Try reorganizing your desk, adjusting the lighting, or choosing a new spot to work. Small changes can have a big impact, and you'll quickly notice how the right environment can transform your productivity. Even with an ideal environment, distractions are often the biggest productivity villains. Today, we're surrounded by constant stimuli, message notifications, social media, emails, and even the urge to check your phone, just for a minute. If you feel like you're always battling to stay focused, you're not alone. The human brain is naturally drawn to novelty, and every interruption activates the reward system, releasing a small dose of dopamine. That's why distractions can be so tempting. The problem is that these small interruptions come with a huge cost. Research shows that after being distracted, it can take up to 25 minutes to fully regain focus on a task. Additionally, every time you switch activities, your brain expends extra energy, leading to mental fatigue. The result? Simple tasks take twice as long, and feelings of exhaustion increase. To manage distractions, the first step is identifying their primary sources. Ask yourself, what disrupts my focus the most during the day? For many, the smartphone is a major culprit. Constant notifications, even seemingly harmless ones, break workflow and lower productivity. The solution? Use airplane mode or tools like Do Not Disturb during focus periods. Another effective strategy is using distraction blocking apps. Tools like Freedom, Focus Me, or Forest can restrict access to specific sites and apps during scheduled times. This is especially helpful for those who work on computers and get sidetracked by social media or online videos. These tools create a more controlled and focused digital environment. Distractions aren't always digital, though. Sometimes, it's the people around you who interrupt. A colleague asking frequent questions, a family member entering your workspace, or even external noise can make concentration difficult. To address this, set clear boundaries. Let those around you know when you need uninterrupted time, and use visual cues like headphones or a sign on the door to reinforce your need for focus. If noise is an issue, consider investing in noise-canceling headphones. They not only block unwanted sounds but also help create a mental bubble of concentration. Pair this with ambient sounds or work-specific playlists, like instrumental music or nature sounds, to enhance productivity. Another powerful technique is time block management. Divide your day into dedicated periods for specific tasks, alternating with short breaks. The Pomodoro technique, for instance, suggests working for 25 minutes and then taking a 5-minute break. During these focused periods, eliminate all possible distractions. This includes silencing notifications, closing unnecessary browser tabs, and informing others that you're unavailable. Planning ahead can also help minimize distractions. Start your day by organizing a list of priorities and allocate specific times for checking emails or social media. For example, dedicate 15 minutes in the morning and another slot in the afternoon to handle messages, avoiding constant interruptions throughout the day. This simple adjustment can significantly increase the time you spend focused on your main tasks. A less obvious but highly effective strategy is practicing mindfulness. This involves being fully present in the task at hand, without letting external thoughts or worries steal your attention. Daily mindfulness exercises, like meditation, can train your brain to maintain focus for longer periods. By combining these strategies, you can create an environment and habits that prioritize focus and reduce distractions, making it easier to stay productive and reach your goals. If you still find it challenging to control distractions, start with a small challenge. create short periods of fully focused time where you eliminate all possible interruptions. Begin with just 10 or 15 minutes, and with practice, these periods can extend to an hour or more. Each moment of intentional focus strengthens your ability to resist distractions in the future. Finally, remember that not all distractions are bad. Sometimes, allowing yourself an intentional break can recharge your energy and improve your performance. The key is to balance intense focus with scheduled breaks so you don't feel burned out. So, why not try it today? Pick an important task and eliminate all distractions around you for 25 minutes. Turn off your phone, put on headphones, close unnecessary tabs, and focus completely. You'll see how taking control of distractions not only transforms your productivity but also enhances your sense of accomplishment. Now that we've explored all 5 neuroscience-backed tricks, it's time to connect the dots and show how they can work together as an integrated system to beat procrastination. Each technique plays a specific role, but when combined, they become even more powerful. It all starts with the first step, breaking tasks into micro steps. This strategy reduces the anxiety associated with large tasks and creates a clear, accessible starting point. By transforming something overwhelming into manageable parts, you give your brain the confidence to move forward, one step at a time. That's where the 5-minute trick becomes the second essential element. It ensures you overcome the initial inertia, engaging with a task without the burden of a long commitment. This small push can be the trigger for something much bigger. But starting isn't enough, you need to maintain motivation along the way. That's where rewarding progress becomes crucial. Every completed micro-step should be celebrated, whether with an intentional break, a moment of personal recognition, or a small reward. This practice positively reinforces progress, creating a cycle of continuous motivation. Additionally, remember that the environment you work in is vital. Changing your environment helps create more productive mental associations and removes invisible barriers that may contribute to procrastination. A well-lit, organized, and distraction-free space is like fuel for the brain, helping it stay focused and motivated. Finally, all of this is amplified when you can control distractions. Without constant interruptions, your brain has the chance to enter deeper states of concentration, known as flow. This practice not only boosts efficiency but also makes the process of working or studying more enjoyable. Now, imagine how these tricks could transform your routine if applied together. Suppose you have a big task, like planning a project at work. Start by breaking the project into small, specific steps. Then commit to dedicating just 5 minutes to the first step. After completing it, reward yourself with a brief break or something you enjoy. Work in a conducive environment, adjusting lighting, sound, and organization, and minimize all possible distractions. By following these steps, what once seemed like an insurmountable mountain becomes a series of small victories that build toward the ultimate goal. Another advantage of combining these techniques is flexibility. They can be adapted to different types of tasks and lifestyles. If you work better in short focus periods, you can use the 5-minute trick as a starting point and gradually increase the time as you feel comfortable. If you prefer visual goals, like checklists, use rewards to celebrate each completed item. The key is finding the combination that works best for you. But remember, the goal isn't to completely eliminate procrastination from your life, that would be unrealistic. Everyone faces moments where they'd rather put something off. What these strategies do is reduce the frequency and impact of procrastination, helping you regain control when it arises. As you start applying these techniques, observe how they affect not only your productivity but also your confidence and well-being. Small daily changes can lead to impressive results, and every step you take is proof that you're on the right path. Now that you've learned the 5 neuroscience-backed tricks to overcome procrastination, it's time to take the next step. Here's an important truth: none of these strategies work if they stay theoretical. What truly makes a difference is the action, even a small one, you decide to take today. After all, as we've seen throughout this video, it's the first step that sets the entire process in motion. So, here's a challenge for you: pick a task you've been putting off and apply one of the tricks we've discussed. It could be starting with the 5-minute trick, breaking the task into micro steps, or reorganizing your workspace. What matters is starting. Write this task down now or share in the comments which technique you plan to use first. Remember, this interaction also helps reinforce your commitment. Don't underestimate the impact of these small changes. Imagine if every day you implemented one of these tricks into your routine. Within a week, you'd already see significant progress. In a month, your productivity would reach a new level. And over the course of a year, these practices could completely transform the way you approach your goals. I also want to hear from you. Which of these tricks seems easiest to apply in your daily life? Or, if you've already tried one, how was your experience? Share your thoughts, questions, or even your achievements in the comments. This exchange is what makes this space so valuable. If you enjoyed this content and want to keep learning more about improving your productivity and well-being through science, don't forget to like this video. This not only helps me know I'm delivering something useful but also ensures YouTube shows this video to more people who could benefit from it. And, of course, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss any future tips. Before wrapping up, I want to leave you with one last thought. Procrastination is something we all face at some point. But the fact that you watched this video to the end shows you're committed to change. That, in itself, is a big step. Now, it's up to you to turn this learning into action. So, why not start now? Close this video, grab a pen and paper, or open your Notes app, and write down the first task you'll tackle using these tricks. Remember, every small step counts, and every completed task is a victory. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this content has been helpful and that you feel more prepared to overcome procrastination. Remember, you have the tools and the knowledge. Now, it's time to put it all into practice. See you in the next video.